Hi, church. Pastor Ben here again today with your daily Devo. Thank you so much for having us into your home and for your attention today. One of my favorite Pastor Nate Mosley quotes is, "My sin looks way worse on you than it does on me." Recently, my wife and I were having a discussion about some things that some people we know were doing that we thought were rather foolish. And I made a comment to her that it's so often way easier to see what someone else should do than it is to see what we ourselves should do. We so often lack perspective. The king that we're studying right now, King Solomon, in our sermon series from the Book of Kings, asked God to provide him with wisdom for ruling. And so God granted that. And so we often say that King Solomon is the wisest man who ever lived, or the wisest king ever. And there's a lot of truth to that. And Solomon wrote dozens and dozens of proverbs. And this tendency that we have, this lack of perspective that we have for our own lives, is something he spoke about over and over again in his proverbs. And I just want to read one for you. This is 3,000 years ago, and it reminds us once again that human nature really hasn't changed all that much over the years and over the centuries for that matter. And so in Proverbs 21 verse 3, he says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty." And so the question becomes, how do I not be that guy? How do I not be the person who sees the danger but just keeps right on going, versus the person who sees the danger and stops, says, "Oh, that's enough. This is a bad path. This is a path that's not going to take us where we want to go. We can't keep pouring money into this. We can't keep trying to force this relationship to work. We can't keep acting the way we're acting in whatever way we go," right? It's just the things that we do, right? So often, we just keep right on going, keep right on pressing forward on a path that's obviously, especially obvious to our friends and family, a path that's obviously not going to give us what we want and make us successful and not lead to regrets. That the wise see that coming and do something. And the thing that you see over and over again in the Proverbs especially is that how does one become that wise person? And they do that by listening to the advice of sober, discerning friends, that they surround themselves with advisors who won't just tell them what they want to hear, but will tell them the truth and steer them to the right path. And so that's my prayer for you today, is that you take the time to, when in your daily prayers, to just ask God, are there people in my life that are trying to get me to hear them and I'm just not hearing them, that I need to be listening to and doing it? So often, the reason we lack this ability to do this is because our emotions are involved. We're emotionally invested. We become emotionally invested in a vehicle that we continue to pour money into, a boat, a house, a relationship that we continue to pour our heart and soul into, because we think we can make a difference. We think that with enough effort, this person's problem is they just haven't had the right person loving them. This person's problem, or this situation, we just needs more of my attention. I just need to pour more of myself into this. And it's just a losing battle. And so how do we keep from distancing ourselves from that emotional attachment to the situation so that I can act rationally and avoid the regrets that are without a doubt going to come on this thing. And the way you do that is through prudent counsel. For me, it was always my father. Who did I turn to when I needed some advice? Did I always listen? No. But did he give me words of wisdom all the time? You may not have a father who can give you that advice, but there's somebody. There's always going to be somebody in your life who you can listen to that can give you sound advice. And I invite you today to pray that God will provide those people in your life and that you will be open to listening to what they have to say, so that you can avoid the pitfalls that come when it's so much easier for other people to see what you ought to do than it is for you to see what you ought to do. Have a nice day. God bless you. Go be the church.